We will go ahead and get started then. We are going to log on if you haven't already, which most of you, it looks like you had because you raised your hand. Okay, so just a review to connect to the content apps, you need to have either be on the campus network or using a virtual private network or VPN. For training, we're going to use Chrome, but you could use other browsers except for Internet Explorer. And then you have to have the link, and we provided that, an account, which you all should already have, and everyone's logged in. So you should see three things: documents, folders, and workflow. Does anybody not see those three things? So I see some hands are still up. If you do not see those three things, will you keep your hand up or raise your hand if it's down? I'll give you a minute to do that. I'll talk about what the Content Apps web application cannot do. It cannot link, scan, print in, or redact. So to use those features, you would have to log into the desktop application. Excuse me. So the difference between the desktop version and the web client are these four things. Does anybody do those four things? Chatty group today. Okay. So I'm assuming everybody saw all three of those. I'd like everybody to click on Documents. You may get a little bit of a spin, that's okay. I just want to show you some navigation. So in the top left corner, you'll see an H in a blue greenish box. Okay, if you click that H, and I want everyone to do these exercises with me, click the H, and it will take you back to home. So no matter what you're doing, if you hit that H, it will bring you back here. Okay. The next item I'd like to discuss is the user icon. So in the top right corner, there's a little person icon. If you click on that icon, you will get three options. Okay, the middle one is the question mark. I'd like everybody to click on that. That is your help. So if you're having trouble finding something or trying to figure out how to do something, this will be a good resource for you to have on hand. So I want everybody to click on Documents. We've discovered the little search box on the front page doesn't work. So if you click on any of those, the search box should work, at least what we tested. So I want you to type in something that you're interested in. So for example, I typed print.
Hey, Patty, while you guys are doing that, I'm going to check with Gail. Gail, you've got your hand up. I don't know if you have chat going. Do you need help with anything? If so, we put some notes in chat there about having to be on the campus network or the VPN. You're good. Okay.
She's good.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Okay. So does anybody want to share what they searched for? Did everybody get it to work? Does anybody need assistance? Keep your hand up if you're good. You are good to go and you found something. If you'd like to share in chat instead of verbally, that's fine too. Okay, so let's go back. It does open in a separate tab if you didn't notice. You'll have to go back to your first tab to get to our Perceptive Content app. And the other thing I want to show you with the people icon, person icon. Now I do not want you to click this right now, but the little power button is far left or far right. If you hover over it, it says disconnect. That's your logout button. Okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about, we're going to get into workflow. So everyone should be at the main screen. I would like for you all to click on workflow. And you may or may not see more items in the training workspace, depending on the department that you belong with. Okay, so I want you to click on the arrow next to the training workspace. And you should see three things. You should see the review, the start, and the trash can. Does anyone not see those three items? Joyce, do you see
Yes.
cameras? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So everybody sees those three things. We're going to click on the search button. It's a blue button, far right, top. Oh, sorry. You actually got to click on training workspace. I just had you click the arrow. You may get a spin. All right, now you can click search. Okay, so you should see documents in here. On field 2 is your name. If you need to adjust the size of the column, you can put your cursor in between the column header until you get a double-headed arrow. That means you can resize. So you just click and drag to the size that you need. And then over in the type column, you should have two documents. Everybody should have two. One is transcript and one is resume. Okay, and the easy way to find your two documents together is you can sort. All you have to do is click the header field. So I clicked field 2 and now you can see Kevin's are together, Melissa, etc. So this should help you find your documents. Another thing you can do in here is rearrange your columns. So if I wanted field 2 to be over by the type, all I have to do is click field 2 and drag it over. And wherever my cursor is when I let go is where it will end up.
If you don't see any documents, click the search, the blue search button in the upper right hand corner or up.
So if you've clicked on training workspace and you click search, you should see 44 documents. That's good. Chat only sees 2. Did you give everybody rights to see everybody's or just their own? Oh, she's typing. Okay. So everybody's good but Chad, I think. Ashley, are you good? or Amy? Okay.
Wait, they see more now. Yeah. They
Perfect.
just have to click the search
Excellent.
button.
Okay. Did anybody not find their two documents? And you are allowed to speak. Okay. I think everybody's good but Tamara. And Joyce is helping her. Okay.
Yeah, she was not on the list earlier, so I just had
Yeah.
it her actually today. So
Okay. Okay, cool. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is the toolbar. If you check the box next to your resume document.
Tamara is
So
good now. It's like
perfect. Thank you. All right. So if you check the box to the left of your document, if you hover over it, you'll see a little checkbox appear. I want you to check the box next to your resume document. So you'll find your name and resume. When you check this box, you'll get a toolbar appear at the top. Okay? I'm just going to run through it quick. You can download, export to PDF, print, email, export the grid. I will comment that this is only going to give you the grid. It's not going to download the actual document. If it is grayed out, it's not available. You can look at the workflow history of a document, and then you have your route back and forward. And since we haven't routed it forward, your route back is grayed out, which makes sense, right? And you'll see most of these options in the next, when you actually have the document open. All right. Now I will say the column sorting and adjustments will go away. And we'll get into search filters later, but that's how you can save that those options. All right, so we're going to click on the resume document itself. Your resume, open your resume document, sorry. And everybody should have a Lisa Smith resume. Does anybody not? If you do not have the resume, raise your hand. Let's see, Eva has her hand raised, but I'm not sure if that was from before.
Sorry, I'm good. I have the resume.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else? Everybody good? Okay. So the two things I want to cover first are the toolbars. So up here, you'll have a toolbar to the top. Should look very familiar. A lot of the same options as we get before. I do want to point out this back button. If you use the back button and go ahead and click it, you'll see the changes you made to your columns stay. Right? If you click on, go back to your document, your resume document. If you were to click training workspace here instead of the back button, you're going to lose those changes you made, the sorting, the column width, and things like that. So that's just a little thing I picked up prepping for the training. I prefer this one personally, I've decided. Okay, so you have your back button, your save button, which saves to Perceptive, not your desktop. And you have your annotate, which we'll get into later. You can add a page. You can download the document. So that one should look familiar. Export to PDF, print, email, history, back and forth. Okay. So those are your toolbars up there. And then down here, you have another toolbar. the majority of it has to do with viewing. So you have your page 1 and 2. If someone does not have 2 pages, please raise your hand. So there's 2 ways to get to your page. If you click the next button, the little sideways arrow, you'll see it takes you to page 2. You should also have on the left what's called thumbnails, just a small picture of the document, each page. So if you were to click on page 1, you'll see it'll take you there. So that's personal preference. If you want to use this or this down here, then you have your zoom feature. So you can use your buttons to zoom out and in, or if you prefer, you can use the slider bar. So you can increase the size. Say you forget your glasses one day, you can zoom up in something. Or maybe you've got really good eyesight and you can zoom way out for whatever reason. Then we have the best fit, and I'd like you to try all of these so you can see which ones you prefer. So best fit's going to try to fit the whole page. Fit to height is going to fit the height, which is kind of the same. Fit the width, we'll make it wider. Then original size, which is huge. So I'm assuming that's the scanned in size. So I'm going to go back to best fit so you can see the rotate buttons. You have rotate left, rotate right. So I want everybody to rotate. And then you have your, these are the ones that aren't viewing, right? So you can download the page. Now the difference between this download button and this download button up here is this one will download the entire document, so all of the pages. This download button is only going to download one page of the document. And then you have your delete, which is also just the page. So these are more page, these two are more page options, whereas up here is more of a document type option. Okay. Are there any questions about the toolbars? I'm going to count backwards. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I'm going to move on. Feel free to interrupt me if you need to speak or ask a question. Okay, now we are going to update our document. So there are 2 things you can update in your document. You can update your document properties, or you can update your annotations by adding annotations, I should say. Okay, so I want everybody to go to the find their document properties. Okay, it should be to the right. It's a pane that takes up the entire height of the document window. So you should see properties and then name, drawer, field, etc. Field 2, you should see your name. Down in type, you should see resume or transcript. And then these toolbars up here, I want to talk about this one with the eye. This is a show hide, so it's a toggle key. If you click it once, it's going to turn it off. Click it again, it's going to turn it on. So maybe you need a little bit more room to look at that specific document. Because if you were to do fit with now, you have a little bit more room to work with, kind of a real estate thing. And then over here, the first icon in this little set is to show or hide your thumbnail. So remember, the thumbnails are over here on the left. Say you don't want to see those, maybe you like the buttons down here. You can click that to turn it off, but it's not gone. You can click it again to turn it on. Okay, so those are your toggle keys. And we're going to update our document. So I want you to scroll down in your document properties until you find the notes field. Okay, and the notes field should have a fairly large white box underneath it for you to type in. So I want you to type your name and then is awesome. Exclamation point. Okay, and then we're going to add the date. Now, if you prefer to type, Maybe you prefer the 10 key. That's fine. There's no right or wrong here. You can also use this insert timestamp button. So if you were to click this button, you'll see it puts in your ID and the date. One thing is it's going to bump your text down to hard return. So depending on your needs, you may or may want to take those out or just manually type it. Personal preference. Okay, and then I want everybody to click save. And you'll see this green bar pop at the top. And I want you to click more. When you click more, it shows you what has been done. Okay. Properties were saved successfully. So that means we updated a field in the document properties. Go ahead and close. You don't have to look at that every time. I just wanted you to be aware of it. You could. It may come in handy. All right. Then I want you, let's see. Oh, I do want to mention there are some fields that are not changeable. You have your name, the drawer, and the type. So those cannot be edited once they're set. And there is no auto save feature, so you need to use your save button. If you make changes to your document and back out without saving, one, it should prompt you if you want to save it. And two, if you don't hit save, it's not going to save those changes. Okay? All right. Anybody have any issues? If you had an issue with adding a note to your document, raise your hand. 3, 2, 1. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add an annotation. So up here on the top toolbar, you'll see 1, 2, 3 icons over from the left, annotate page. If you click the down arrow next to it looks like a little square with a pencil in it, you'll see create or hide. And we're going to click create. And when you put your cursor over your document, you should see a box following your cursor arrow around. And it has a dotted line around the edge. This is where it's going to put your annotation. So I want you to click to the left of Lisa's name, and then you'll get an annotation box. So you can choose what type of annotation you would like. As you can see, there are several options: arrow, check, oval, text, URL. We're going to choose arrow for this exercise, and we're going to choose red. Then we're going to click add, and you should see a red arrow. I'm going to make this a little bigger so you see it better. Okay. If anyone did not get that to, if anyone had issues adding an annotation, please raise your hand. Or you can put it in the chat, or you could speak out loud, however you'd like to do it. All right, so you can resize your annotation. For the arrow, you want to put the cursor either on the tip or the end, and you'll see a square box show up. That's your resize handle. So if you click and drag that around, you see you can not only change the shape or size of it, but you can change which way it's pointing. Okay, so I want everyone to select their arrow, and I want you to make it bigger. Okay, other things you can do are if you hit your, choose the icon itself, annotation, you'll get these 3 buttons. So obviously the trash can is to delete. Then you have I for properties, and then you have your edit. So we want to click the edit button. You can change the weight, which just means the thickness. So you can make the arrow thicker. You can also change the color. I would like you all to pick your favorite color and click OK. So now you should have a fairly large arrow, different color than when we started. Red should be different than red. The other thing I'm going to show you is you can move the entire annotation. If you click on it and you get the 4-pronged arrow, that means you can move it in almost any Windows application. So we're going to click and drag that over to the right of Lisa's name. And then I want you to change it so that it's actually pointing at her name. Okay. So I think we've adjusted everything we can with the annotation. Is there anybody have any issues with the annotation? Questions, comments? If you add a stamp, can you adjust the size? Let me see. I believe so, but we will make sure. Stamp. Stamp. Is it a text stamp? Sorry. Oh, it's the other stamp. Oh. Okay. Interesting. Kevin, can you not move a stamp?
You can in the desktop client. I don't know if they can move it here. When you click on it, what is it?
I
Yeah,
mean,
there's arrows.
resize.
There's arrows for moving it.
I'm sorry, resize.
You
I know you
resize
can
by
move
the
it.
properties, and I don't know if it'll let you in the properties. Here, it will in the desktop client. Yeah,
Maybe.
it doesn't look like it lets you resize it here.
So it looks like no. Sorry
And
about
in,
that.
and in the desktop client, you can only resize it for that one instance. It doesn't because these stamps can be used across the entire system.
Okay.
So it would only change it for that one document.
Okay, cool. Are there any other questions about annotation? And the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to give you an exercise. You can do it on your own. So I want you to go back to the training workspace. And I want you to find your transcript document. And I want you to open it. And then I want you to do what we just did in our resume document. I want you to add a note to the notes field. And then I'd like you to add an annotation to your document. Whatever annotation you like. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to play with the annotation. I will mention while you're doing your exercise that some departments will block the default annotations that we're looking at, but it's usually because they have their own that they want used, very specifically. Again, when you hit the save button, it saves to Perceptive, not to your desktop. Once you get all these changes made, I'd like you to raise your hand so I know I can continue. I'm doing the same thing Just trying to do it a little slower in case you need to follow. I will note that the information properties, some of this doesn't show up until you save. So if you open that and you see blank stuff, that's okay. Just when you save, you will see it. So I just saved and now I hit it and it's got my name and date. It hasn't been modified, so there's no changes there. But if I were to modify it, it should change. There we go. So that's how you get those filled in. You just have to hit the save button. Does anybody need assistance? I see no hands are raised yet. Oh, I do, sorry. Brenda, Eva, Ashley, Gail. Do any of you need assistance? I want to thank Tamara, Chad, Amy, Christine, and Dustin for raising their hands for me. Something new I'm trying. Okay. If you need assistance, please put it in chat. Gail, Eva.
They're good.
They're good. Okay. Thank you, Joyce. All right. The next thing I'd like to discuss is the email option. So I want you to go back and open your resume document. And since we hit save, you should see your annotations. I want to show you one more thing with annotations. If you go back to the annotation page icon and hit the drop down, you will see a hide annotations. So if you click on that, your annotations will disappear. It doesn't mean that they're gone forever, they're just hidden. So if you come back to this same button, you'll see instead of hide, now it says show. So I want everybody to go back and show their annotations so you can see those. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to use the email button. But first, I want to ask, does anybody not use Outlook? If you do not use Outlook, raise your hand. And I got a few hands that are up, that were already up. So you might want to put them down, I'm not sure.
I believe those raised hands were from previous question.
Right. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to assume that everybody uses Outlook. You have to make sure your Outlook is open. Okay. All right. So we're going to click on the email icon in the top toolbar. And since your Outlook is open, it should automatically open a draft email with who it's from, which should be you. The subject is filled in, and then the link to the document. So I want you to address this to yourself, and I want you to add some verbiage to the body of the email. Okay, once you've done that, I want you to click send. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, you probably noticed now, two things happen when you hit that email button. One is it opens this blank tab in your browser. Okay, you don't need to worry about it, it's fine. And the other thing is it's going to open that draft email. Okay. So you can close this blank document. I want you to go back to Perceptive, and I want you to back up out of your document. So you're looking at the list. Now this is important. If you don't do this part, you may get an error or a message of some kind. Then I want you to go to your email after you have that closed. And I want you, here's my email from me to me. And if I click the link, it will open is Outlook your default. Outlook has to be your default email. You should definitely have it open. And if it didn't work, I would, well, we'll see what Kevin says, but I would probably close and reopen Perceptive. But Kevin might have a better idea. Okay, so the ones that it worked, is the Chad the only one having issues? Anybody else have issues? If you're having an issue with your email, please raise your hand.
Yeah, Chad might have to check his default email client.
Okay.
See,
I
I'll get
can
it to check settings. Yeah.
see, here's that link we had for it. Okay, let's see. So I see no hands raised, and Joyce is working with Chad. So we'll go ahead and move on. So everybody has clicked the link in their email, and if you look at your browser tabs, you'll see it opened it in a separate browser window. You want to keep that in mind. You can't have two documents open or one document open at the same time 2 times. But the second one's only going to be read only. Okay, so that's why I had you close the first one. If we went ahead and opened it, you may have gotten an error, or you may have gotten this will have to be a read only version, right? So this time, I want you to go ahead and close this Perceptive tab and go back to our original, where you see your list of documents, so we don't have any conflicts later. And then
Tamara has a question. Do you have access to Perceptive content, or can you send the email to someone that doesn't have access?
You can send the
And-
email to them, but they would be unable to open it since it's a link to Perceptive content. So they would require an account to log in and look at the document.
so yes, you have to have access to open it.
The alternative would be you would have to email an attachment of the image, like download the document and send.
And that would be a good time to talk about a lot of the data in Perceptive content is restricted. And so you will need to check with your department about whether you can email that kind of data and attachments. Generally, we would recommend against it unless you know it's okay to email that kind of data.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about that? Thank you, Kevin and Sarah. Okay. So the next thing I would like to do is print a document. So we're going to open our resume document. So I should have closed it before we closed the window. So we do not, yeah, we can do this. Hit yes. It's read only, but we should still be able to print. If you hit print in the top toolbar, you can print it to a PDF or you can print it to a physical printer. Those are your two options. So since I don't know that everybody has a physical printer, we're going to print a PDF. So you check the convert to PDF and you click OK. And then you would wait a second and then it would open in a separate tab in your browser and you'll see it as a PDF. You could download it at this point. But as Sarah mentioned before, the email kind of goes along with the printing. You would want to check your department's policy about printing documents prior to printing. They may have restrictions on what information you can print due to confidentiality things. Okay. I didn't mention
Patty,
this
on that same
before.
note, Patty, on that same note, many departments will already have it blocked. So if you try to send and you don't have the ability to download or send emails or anything, it will be because your department's already blocked it.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. Okay. I haven't had anybody complain, so maybe you all had it, but you do have to have a PDF plugin to get the email feature to work. Did everybody get the email or print a PDF to work? Sorry. If you did not get it to work, please raise your hand. In the document we'll be sending out that goes with this training, there is a link to the Chrome plugin for the Adobe if you do need it, since I have such a chatty group. There's also a link to the confidentiality agreement. And each individual user and each individual browser have to have the plugin. So even if you were to do the plugin for Chrome, that doesn't necessarily mean that Firefox is going to work. Okay, so you'd have to do it for both. Right? Then the next thing I want to do is I want you to do an exercise on your own. Okay, so you can close the PDF window, go back to our original window. Maybe. You might have broken it. Hit your refresh if it's just spinning. Joyce or Kevin, can you check and see if our stuff is unlock our stuff?
All right.
Sorry about that.
Check.
I thought I had it in the order so we wouldn't make that happen. I'll have to read that.
All right. Try again with your resume.
Okay.
Doc.
So if yours were stuck and she had you try again, you should do the same. Go to training workspace. Looks like Ashley Worley's resume isn't working unless she has it open. Just feel onto idle. Does anybody have any of their things locked? Looks like we got Dustin, Christine, Tamara, Evie, and Ashley.
Mine is now saying that there's no items found.
Okay. Will you log out for me?
Yes.
Log back in,
Mhm.
please, and thank you. So while Joyce works on that,
Yeah.
I want you guys, while Joyce works on that, I want you to go ahead and open your transcript document. So this is your exercise. I want you to email the transcript to yourself, and then I want you to print it to PDF. Okay, I'll give you a few minutes to do that exercise. Again, on your transcript.
All
I want
documents
you-
should be good to go here.
Okay, thank you, Joyce. Send an email to yourself and download the PDF, or print to PDF. Sorry. So if you send it to yourself, all right, it opens the blank tab. We're going to close that. We're going to go back to our list. And you're going to go to your email. And I'm going to tell you how to do it in the right order. We're going to click our link. Okay, so somebody sent us a link in Perceptive. We clicked on it. Be aware it's going to open a separate tab. And then I want you to back out of this document. You have to close the document in order to keep that message from happening before. Now if you go back to Content Apps and do a search, and you close the document, it should say idle in your status. And it says working is when it usually gives you the, it can't open, or it'll only open and read only. Okay. So you should have sent yourself an email. And then the next piece I wanted you to do is print to a PDF. Click OK. And notice that opened another one. So now we have 3 open. Personally, I think that's a little confusing. Okay, so now you should be looking at your PDF. Okay. We're going to close it. So that closed. Close that. And then on that second Perceptive window, you should be sitting on the training workspace. You should be able to close this window. Go back to your main one. Your transcript should be okay. You back up. You go back in. Should be good. Did anybody have any issues that time? Sending the email or printing to PDF? Raise your hand if you had an issue or you need more time. Let's see, no hands raised. No chat. Okay, I'm going to assume everybody got that. I want you to back up and we're going to open our resume document. Okay, so we're going to find our resume document. We're going to open that. And we're going to practice routing. Okay, so we should have our resume document open. And this time we're going to use the route button in the top toolbar. And if you click the drop down, you'll see this. Okay. You'll see training complete, folders, review, and trash. So we're going to route to training review. So I already clicked training review. Now it doesn't look like anything happened. You got to go over here to your workflow process and hit that triangle so you can see the other cues. So now if you click on training review, and then you still have to hit the search button. All right, just because you clicked on training review doesn't mean it's going to show. You got to hit that search button. That's the trick. All right. Looks like we got 6. Mine doesn't count, so 5. So I'm going to give you another minute. It says the meeting chat is muted. Did somebody mute that?
I think it has said that all along, Patty.
Oh. Okay. All right, let's see. How many I got? No more. So, let's see. We got Dustin, Chad, Christine, Brenda. I don't see Brenda. Brenda, let us know if you need help. And then I have Tamra. I don't see you. And then Eva. Let us know if you need assistance. Ashley, got you. Gail. Gail, got you. Good job. So we're missing a few. Give you another minute. Okay, Eva's out.
Yeah. Some just observing, like Brenda, she said.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool because we're going to do it again.
Yeah. Tamara asked if we could go over again.
Yeah,
Over it
I
again.
can. And for those that have to leave, we will record. I'll be recording all 3, so we'll pick the best one and we're going to put it on YouTube so you'll be able to catch anything you missed. We're also going to send the document, the training document out, so you'll have that also. But I thank you for attending, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Okay. So Tamra, we're going to go back to training workspace. And the exercise I had was to route your transcript document. So we'll just do that together, okay? And I'll try to go slower. So we're going to click training workspace. Okay, you shouldn't see anything. And we're going to click search. Okay, you might have to adjust your columns. And then I want you to find your transcript document. Okay, and then I want you to open it. All right, I'll give you a minute. So we found our transcript document and then we opened it. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to route it to that review queue. Do you have your document open? You guys ready to route? Maybe that's what we got. Oh, look at that. She just
She said it's
jumped
routed.
ahead. So for those of you that are following, we're going to route forward. So we're going to click the route forward button and we're going to click training review. Okay, and it takes you back to your grid view. And then we're going to click training review and hit search. And then you should see both of your documents. And if you only have one, I'll give you a minute to go back and do the other one. Does anybody need assistance? We got Justin, he's got his resume. Dustin, you need help with your transcript? And we got Chad needs his transcript. Christine's got it. Yeah.
Dustin is doing it now, he said.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Let's see. Christine had them both. Brenda. What else? See Brenda. Brenda, do you need assistance?
Brenda mentioned earlier she's just observing.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. And then Tamara, I only see your transcript. Do you want to try to route your resume? And Ashley's missing your transcript. And Gail did it. Good job, Gail. Do I need to do it one more time? Or just give you a little more time? Oh, sorry. You're right. I should hit it.
Just need to refresh.
My bad. All right. Good job, Dustin. Chad, awesome. Christine, good. Tamara, awesome. Look at you guys. Rock stars. My rock stars. All right. Now I'm going to show you how to look at workflow history. So we're going to open, we're going to open our resume document. So this one. Okay. And then we're just going to look at the workflow history. So it's a button in the upper toolbar, and it kind of looks like a program window with like a kind of like a clock in the corner of it. And when you put your cursor over it, it says View Workflow History. So we're going to click that button, and it may spin just a bit, and then you'll get two tabs, Details and History. And if you look at your history, you'll see what all was done. Right? We routed it out. We opened it. When you open it, it's working. You cancel things. So sometimes maybe you forget what was done, or you need to see what was done, or who did it, or when it was done. This may be a good reference for you. Okay. And then in the details, this just tells you like basic details about the document. So like the queue it's in, the day it was routed, who routed it, what day it was added, etc. Right? So I mean, it does have some info, but I think maybe history would be more helpful. But that's where you go. There's a close button in the bottom right corner. I want you to go and close that window. Okay, and then I want you to go back and open your transcript document. And I want you to go ahead and look at your workflow history. And I'll give you a second to do that. Okay, anybody have issues with that? If you have issues or didn't get it to work, go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, I have a little quiz. Again, I know you guys are shy of speaking. So if you want to put it in the chat, that would be great. Can you tell me how to open a document in workflow? The next question is, what 2 categories can you update on a document? Actually, I think you only have to click once. Notes and annotate. Perfect. Thank you, Tamara. And anybody tell me how to save? And how to send an email. Top left floppy disk. Nice. Some people may not know what a floppy disk is. I've discovered. Young people. Open the document, have Outlook open. Tamara's answering the question for email. Select the email icon at the top. Perfect. Another one is, can you print? And if so, what can you print to? Oh, sorry, Christine, I missed that. The second question was, what 2 categories can you update? And the answer, well, you answered it. Notes and
Annotation.
yeah, annotation. To a printer or PDF? Thank you, Christine. That is correct. You can either print to a physical printer or to a PDF. Can anybody tell me how to route a document to another queue? Choose the workflow. Route to from the drop-down menu. Perfect. Thank you, Christine. And can you view the workflow history of a document? And if so, what do you see? There's like 3 people typing. It's like a race. Dun, 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 dun. Perfect. Thank you, Justin. So he gave the answer on the workflow history, yes, and with timestamps and details. Okay, there's one more piece I want to do is we're going to create a folder by routing a document. And I want to thank everybody for answering my questions in chat. It's very appreciated, the interaction. Okay, so we're going to go to the training review workspace, which you might already be in. Okay. And then we are going to open our resume document. Open our resume document. And this time, instead of routing it to a queue, we're going to route it to a folder. Okay. So on the route forward button, I'm going to click the drop down. And last time we had training review as an option. We don't have that option now because that's where we are. You can't really route to where you are. Okay, so we're going to click training folders. And again, it's not going to look like much. That's okay. And then we're going to, on your own, I would like you to open your transcript document and route it to the training folders also. Okay. I'm going to slowly do this. We're going to open our transcript document. Chad, do you have a question? Looks like you raised your hand. No. Okay, with your transcript document open. Okay, thanks, Chad.
Said no question.
Got it. All right, so we're going to route forward, and we're going to choose training folders. Okay, and we'll cover more on folders a little later. All right, now we're going to talk about documents. So I kind of have it chunked out into those three categories, right? Workflow, documents, and folders. So we're going to talk about documents. But does anybody have any questions about the workflow piece before I move on? 3, 2, 1. Okay. So this time we're going to go back. What's the quickest way to get back to the home? Anybody remember? Perfect. Thank you,
There.
Christine. That's right. You're going to click the H, and it should take you back to home. Thank you, Justin. All right. So we're going to click on Documents. Okay, and then we're going to click on Training All Documents. And then we're going to hit Search. And this should show you all of your documents. Okay. Over here on the left in the document views, if you hit this little drop arrow, I'll delete this later. Okay, so you guys should only have two, created by and created within. Okay, so these are provided search filters that our team has put together for you. So if we click created by, it should prompt you. I would like some of you to type PW and some of you to type JM. All right, so maybe Dustin through Christine could do one, and then Brenda down could do Joyce. When you click OK, doesn't actually do the search yet. I found that a little confusing. You actually have to hit the search button. So all we've done is filled the constraint. Okay. Now we're going to hit search, and it's going to. I thought there was a bit of it.
Just use field 3. Let's just try to do field 3. Not sure about that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Field 3. Sorry about that. That was my fault. And then we're going to type PW or JM. And you're going to add. And you're going to hit search. And then you should just see 8 items. So this is to show you, you could look up, you know, what documents did, you know, John Smith create or something to that effect. It's just an example of a search, right? Or maybe what are all my documents that belong to me? Okay. So that's created by, and then we have a created within. Before I do the created within, did anybody have issues doing the created by? If you had issues with created by, please raise your hand. Okay, so we are going to do created within date, and the first date we're going to put in is the 17th, or I want half you to put the 17th in. What was the other date, Joyce? 18th?
Yes.
Okay, so I want half you to put 517 and the other half to put 518. We're going to click OK. So for the 517, I got 6 items. So for the other one, you should get different documents. Okay, so these are provided searches to you. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to make your own search filter. Okay, did anybody have issues with that? Did you see the difference between searching for one versus someone else? I mean, if you had an issue, raise your hand. How about that? And we'll get you some help. Okay, so on your own, I want you to create, well, we'll do one together. Okay. So the normal constraint, we're going to do field 2. And field 2 is your name. So just do like the first 3 letters of your last name would be sufficient. And then you're going to click add. And then you're going to hit search. I'm not sure why I have 2 or 3. I'm special. You guys should only have 2. Does everybody see there are 2 documents? We'll use the hand raise. If you have any issues, you don't see both your documents, please raise your hand. Or you can put something in the chat. Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right. So I want to show you how to do like a combo. So if you hit this plus sign right here, you can add you can have multiple constraints, right? So we're going to hit the plus sign, and you'll see this add constraint bar we saw before. And this time I want you to choose type. Just scroll down just a bit. Type. And it's going to start with RES. So we're going to search for a resume, and you're going to click add. So now it's going to search for your name and type that starts with RES. Okay. So we're going to click search. And you should only get one document, right? Everybody's got one resume and one transcript. Did anybody not get just the resume? If you have an issue, raise your hand. We'll get you some help or put it in the chat. Just a second. No questions, no hands. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is I want you to do the same thing with your transcript document. All right. So we're going to clear this. And then I'm going to show you how to save it. Okay. So let's find our transcript document. So field 2 would be your initials or the beginning. And we're going to click add. And then we're going to add one more. And this time we're going to do type. Gotta scroll down just a bit. And this time we're going to type TR. And we're going to click add. And then we're going to hit search. And you should see only one, not sure why I have two, resume document, your resume document. Does anybody not see their resume document? Okay, so I do want to note that search filters are private. So we're going to save this search filter and you'll see I'm not seeing yours and you're not seeing everybody else's. So if you got this search to work, we're going to save it by hitting the funnel in the upper right corner. And if you hover over it, it says create new filter. Okay, so we're going to click that button and it wants you to name it. So you can name, I put my name and what it is. And you can put a description if you'd like. And then click OK. And then you should see it over here on the left. So I have the Patty-resume. Disregard these three, those are my test/other class. Did anybody not get their search to save? 3, 2, 1. Okay, so one other thing I want to say about the search filters, once you have it saved, you can adjust, remember the column adjustments we made before? Your search filter will save these adjustments. So if you need to, this is where you would do it so you wouldn't have to readjust, right? So I want you to adjust some column sizes. I want you to move your name to the front and the type right behind your name. And then you're going to have to hit the save again. Okay. Just to make sure it changes those. So if we were to go back to a different one, right? And then we click that one we made. It did not save my changes, Kevin. There's a special button to make it keep that.
Did you save your filter?
I did.
Yeah, it should. Did you
I hit the save button.
and then run the filter?
Oh, you got to run it
Mm-hmm.
after you save it or before?
Yeah, after you make the changes, you would have to run the filter for it to apply them.
Okay. So I hit search. And it redid it.
Yeah. Not sure on that one then.
Well, I did tell you about the back button, so you could use that. And I'm sure Kevin will look into this first. Okay, let's see. If there are a lot of documents, that may slow, downloading that view. Right? If we had 50 million documents in here, and we went to all documents and search, we might lock it up. Is the point of that statement. All right, let's see, 2:30. Okay, so I have another quiz. How do you navigate to documents? Anybody want to answer that in the chat? Perfect. Thank you, Dustin and Christine. So the way to navigate to documents, click the H, go back to home, click that document icon from the home page, and that will take you to documents. Perfect. Can anybody tell me how to open a document? Somebody answered that earlier. Was it Tamara? Tamara, how do you open a document? Is she still here? I can't remember who left. Oh, she's still here. Select the document, it should open. Correct. So if you click once on the document, it will open. How do you search, but with no constraints? It's an easy question. Don't make it harder than it is. And then Tamara's answering that one. If somebody wants to answer the next one, is how to utilize the provided search filters. Perfect. Tamara answered, how do you search with no constraints? You would just click the search button. And if you wanted to use the search filters, yep. Okay, so Dustin's telling us you can create your own search filter by adding the criteria you wanted, right? Like we did adding the name and the type of document. You can also use the provided searches created by and created within, right? And that'll prompt you for some data. Perfect. Thank you, Tamara and Dustin. You guys are awesome. Let's see. Can you create your own filter? And if you can other people use it or see it? Anybody? Yes and then no. What do you think, Gail? You're talking. Dustin says, I believe it is private. Gail says yes, no. Perfect. So, can you create your own filter? The answer is yes. Correct. Can other users see your search filter or use it? No, they cannot. Those are private. Okay. Thank you, Gail, Dustin, Tamara. Thank you guys for answering that question.
I'll add though, just so folks know, if they have a really cool filter that they think would be really useful for a number of people, you can contact our team and we can create a filter on the administrative level that multiple people can see.
We can actually promote the one that they created.
Oh, we can promote that. That's even better. Okay. Thanks, Kim.
Even better, it saves us work. So
Yeah.
In general, when you first do it, it's just going to be you. But if, like they said, if you decide, if your group says that would work for everybody, then yes, they can make it one of those provided searches, like the created by and created within. So it would be listed there if we were to do that for you guys. Okay, so that's documents. Does anybody have any questions about documents? Everybody good? If you have a question, raise your hand or put it in the chat. I'll give you a minute to think about that. The next topic is going to be folders. And the first question I have are, does anybody use folders currently that is in this class? And that I do need an answer to, please. Because if nobody uses folders, we don't need to cover it. And that's why I'm asking. There's several people typing in the chat right now. I'm just waiting. I don't think we use folders. I guess you don't.
Some of you may know them
That's
as projects.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. If you've been using it a while, it used to be called project. Now, most workflows don't use folders, which is why I asked the question. If you want one created, you would have to submit a request and we would schedule it. And it would have to be after our upgrade that's coming up pretty quick. So we got a couple no's, maybe.
Summer said not sure.
Project is just an old word for folders. Like some people have been using it long enough that that's what they used to call it. Like they know that's what they refer to it. So I just want to make sure if any of you are like long time users and that's what you used to call it, this is what it's called now. So I have a few I don't know. Let me just go over it lightly. We're going to click our home. Go ahead and keep typing, Christine. We're going to click our home button so we can get back to our main options here. What's the benefit of using a folder? The benefit of using a folder is it can contain documents and shortcuts, and it's used so that you can go to one place and see all the documents that are logically grouped together. That's how it was explained to me. Is that sufficient, Christine? If not, I'll have Kevin jump in. I would assume like you want all the transcripts in this one, or you want some specific person, all their stuff in one, or, you know, kind of a grouping.
An example would be like the admissions departments. When they receive an application, they kind of have an application packet that would include like the application, transcripts, letters of recommendations, and a variety of other documents that are required in that application package, and it gets sent on to, say, the department advisors or something who approve it. And then once they're done with that application process, they archive the documents in the project or folder, sorry, goes away. And documents remain, but the folder is no longer used because it was part of that application process.
Okay. So I do still have a couple maybe. It's really short and we have time. So let's go ahead and cover it just real quick. And that way you can see, because we did route to a folder, so I do kind of want you guys to see that. Since I have a couple maybe, since they're not all known. Folders for you. Well, I think if someone were to share a folder, you'd want to know a little bit about it. Yeah, we'll cover it real quick. Okay. So everybody go back to their home button and click folders. And then on the left, you should see training folders review. Click the arrow, down arrow. You'll see date created and student or employee ID. So if we had student or employee ID and you type your last name, or the first few, click OK, you're going to see your two folders. Perfect. Okay. Thanks, Christine. Did anyone not see their folders? Should have 2 folders, 1 for each document we forwarded. If you do not see your 2 folders, please raise your hand. No problems? Okay. All right, so let's open one of these. So we're going to click that first one. And you'll see we have the first document here, second document here. All right, so if I continue with Kevin's example of like an admission packet. So like this document could be, I don't know, the admission form itself. And this document could be the high school transcript. And this document could be, I don't know, a reference letter or whatever else I got to fill out. But the folder would then have all of those together. It would be a quick way to reference a group. All right. That's really all I have on folders is how to route and then how to find it and open it. Okay, so that's the end of the actual material. I have a review. Do we have time? If anybody wants to answer, you can do it via chat. How are documents logically grouped together? Can anybody answer that? I'm going to give you a hint. We just went over it. Yes, ma'am. Or sir, sorry. Thank you, Dustin. Camera's typing. If she comes up the same. Last name student ID. Well, that works too. So she's giving an example of a group. And then Dustin gave it's in the folders. But in the folders you could find like someone's name, someone's ID, etc. Right? So in HR they probably have I-9, I don't know, the driver's license or something like that. All right. Can anybody tell me when you would view the workflow history? Okay, somebody needs to mute. Thank you. Anybody? Oh, okay, Gail. And let's see, while he's typing that, how about, does anybody know what browser is required? So Gail answered when to use the document history to see when the document was created, by whom, and time. Perfect. Thank you, Gail. And then Christine answered what browser is required. And her answer is any. That's true, except Explorer. Perfect. Thanks, Dustin. Right? You don't want to use Internet Explorer anymore. Let's see. Why would you use constraints in a search? Anybody know that? Perfect. Narrow search. That's right. Thank you, Tamra. History also helpful if document ends up somewhere unexpected. Oh, nice. Thank you, Sarah. Anybody else? I thought I saw Gail typing. All right. So thank you, Sarah, Tamara, Dustin, Christine. Those are awesome, Gail. Let's see. When would you route a document to another workspace? Anybody know when they might do that? Surely some of you do that. You could give me an example of what you route or how it works for you. Sure. For another office to review, that's perfect. That's a perfect example. You can route it to another office that has Perceptive content access, and then they can review the document. Good. We got a little race going on. Gail, Dustin. Gail says the document that has been reviewed and completed requested document. So I'm assuming you're talking about like throwing it in the completed queue type of thing is when you would route, which is, yeah, that's what I thought. And I've seen that in a couple places, different work. Anybody else have anything to add? These are awesome. Okay. When you send an email via Perceptive content, who does the email come from? You guys remember? Perfect. That's right. Thank you, Dustin and Gail. So when you send an email via Perceptive, it actually has you as the sender. That's good to note. Can you tell me the 4 things that the content apps cannot do that the desktop can? That was at the very beginning of the class. I know it was a long time ago. Four things it cannot do. No? Oh, you gotta erase. Print, append. Well, now we printed. Or do you mean print in? Print in, that's right. You cannot print in.
You can append documents if
Yeah.
you update the index keys
There you go.
to match an existing one.
I knew the first part of that. Anybody else? Redact, that's correct. So we got print in, redact. There's 2 more. No? Okay, so the other 2 would be link. You cannot link. And you cannot scan. So link, scan, print in, or redact, you would have to use the desktop client. Okay, that's good. You got 2 out of 4, and it's way back at the beginning. Perfect. Thank you, Tamara. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Gail. Justin. You guys are awesome. Okay. Back on the bottom. We have discuss. We would like to discuss How many of you currently use the desktop client and think that you could do everything you need to do in this web client? I guess another way to word it, can you do everything you need to do in the web client? Or maybe you could word that several ways. Hey, Justin can just use web. Christine, sounds like you're going to have a mix. There's some people typing. Gail needs the ability to scan and link, so he's going to have to use the desktop. So far, it looks like a little bit of a mix. We would still need to connect to modify a person in HR. And I have pinned documents, so we need to figure that out. So I believe you can do that.
That's linking documents.
The modify thing.
Tamara is talking about is linking documents, and you would still need. Yeah, Christine's mentioned linking to. That would be linking the documents, so they would need to.
But you can append, right?
You can append, but that you would have to manually type in the information as
Okay.
opposed to using an application plan to link.
Okay. Okay. Well, it still looks like we have a little bit of a mix. So that's good. Thank you for the input.